Hi everyone, it's Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm very excited to share the first few sections or pages, stories of my October daily. When I did the behind the scenes, I did a preview, a sneak peek of this die cut page. And essentially I'm taking die cuts that I've had in little baggies for years and I'm just doing something with them. And the doing something is just sticking them in a laminator pocket and then laminating it. That's really it. I just want to do something with them and use them in some sort of way. It seems like such a simple idea, but for me, I'm very excited to do this and try it out. And who knows, maybe even print some new die cuts. But my first goal is to just use up the die cuts that I have. So I'm starting with this really old Mandy Ford kit. I'll link it in the description box, but I've had it for a long time and I dumped out what I have and I'm just placing the die cuts where that white cardstock is behind the laminator sheet. I needed something that would tell me the size of what I needed, which is 7 by 8.25. And I'm using that as kind of my guide so that way I know where the border is or the edge of it. And I'm just using a smidge of adhesive so that way it will stay, and then just randomly placing my die cuts. I kind of did a scene. I mean, I have a banner at the top, a moon at the top, a house at the bottom. You know, it's just, for me, I cannot have a moon floating. I always think of moons at the top. So that's why it just naturally went that way. But everything else was kind of just scattered in different spots. I also have a spider and a spider web, but I wound up sticking with just pink and orange. And then I also have die cut a giant cat, which I don't think I'm going to wind up using. But there's some words too. I think there was Happy Halloween and Spooky. I'm going to go ahead and use Spooky and just place it right above the pumpkin. And it's going to look awesome. I love this. I love this idea. It makes me happy, and I love having different inserts in my October daily and just like mixing things up. So, and like I said, using up my die cuts and all those bags that I have, bags and bags of die cuts. I think I even have a kit I bought from Quinn. I think her name now is Starhouse Design. I cannot remember. I'll link it in the description box, but I bought her kit like 5, 6, 7 years ago. And so I have that to use. And then I have this whole pouch right here that is all kinds of random die cuts. Usually if I'm going to laminate something, I like to make sure that I can use the entire sheet. So I did grab some kid artwork just in case that would fit. You can see the kid artwork up in the top right of the screen. So I will laminate the kids artwork, especially if it's a size of a bookmark, or I'll trim it bookmark size, and then I can use it to fill the page. But since I had a little section, I decided to grab that little pouch that I have and see if I could just make a die cut page using some die cuts. So I pulled out a circle, and what I loved about the circle, and I mentioned this in the behind the scenes, was that it was double-sided. So I was able to do a pattern paper on the back side as well. And if I had really thought about it, because I think I was putting these together late at night, so, you know, my brain's not firing at 100%, I probably would have put pattern paper behind the hexagon or whatever that shape is of the cauldron, and then also the jack-o'-lantern, because it'd be cool to have pattern paper on both sides. But I didn't think of it, but I can do it next time. So I have a circle, the owl, the cauldron, a little tag that says jack-o'-lantern, and then Boo, which is basically something that I die cut from a digital stamp. And I think I wound up putting one more owl die cut on the right hand side. I just needed to scoot over the cauldron, and then I'm just going to run that through my laminator, and then I have 2 really fun inserts to just stick anywhere I want in my album. Now, my laminator is technically broken, so the only way that it will go through is if I push down the release button. I don't know what happened. My husband tried to explain it to me, but All I cared about was that it still works as long as I push that button. It also does now make a really fun sound once I push that button down. It's very loud and obnoxious, but it works. And so I put the paper through, and like I said, I've got 2 fantastic die cut pages, and I just cut them in half. One's going to be a bigger one and one's going to be a smaller one. So I really love that. And I ran it through twice just to make sure that it was like fully sealed. I always like to do that, just make sure it's as sealed as it's gonna get. So, and then I can go ahead and start on my cover page. Again, my cover page is going to be very simple, but there's my die cut page. It looks amazing. I love it. Like I said, it's just a little something that I can do to use up my supplies, and it makes me happy. All right, so the cover. I found a spare piece of laminator that had already been laminated. It was in my stash, and it's a little wrinkled, more wrinkled than I realized, because as I was putting down washi tape strips, I realized, wow, this is kind of wrinkly, but oh well, I'm not going to take the time to straighten it, and I'm not going to throw it in the trash, so I'm just going to use it. I had this giant 10. I don't remember where I got it from. I'm assuming I got it from my Ali Edwards digital stamps, and then I just did a stroke around the 10, and I also enlarged it and changed the colors. Either way, whatever I did, it looks fantastic. I'm using it finally, and I also grabbed a chipboard that says October, and then I just grabbed a mix of washi tapes. I've had the same Halloween washi tapes for years and years and years, and I don't know how long washi tapes last, but you know, I just used, I think, 1 or 2 of the older ones, and then I decided it'd be fun to use my Coffee Monster Co. washi tapes, which I normally use for journaling, on this project. So I use like the nighttime one that's black, and then I use the autumn one that has lots of browns in it. And then the older washi was the orange polka dot one and the orange one up at the top. Then I grabbed this sheet of printable washi strips from the Cat Collage Club, and I decided to use 2 of those, one at the top and one at the bottom. So that way I could bring in more colors, because that is something that I try to pay attention to when I am making this cover, is getting a washi tape strip that will kind of convey what the album is about. So obviously Halloween, fall, all those things, but also covers all the colors that I'm going to use. Like I think one time I did a laminator cover and I included some pink washi tape strips because I knew that I was going to use pink, because one of the printable kits I had that particular year had a lot of pink. This year I'm not sticking with pink, so I just mainly went with kind of the earthy fall colors. And right behind that is going to be my decor box. Normally, I'm going to be honest, normally I just open my box and take a picture. I did that this year and I really didn't like it, and so I kind of just like randomly pushed aside my birds and made sure all my birds were on top. So like I didn't really stylize it. I still kept it kind of random, but I made sure all the birds were on top, and I liked that much better. So I went with this photo, and then I'm just going to adhere it to a piece of cardstock, because the next page right after that is going to be the selfies that I take on the 1st. And so really that's my cover and that's my start. Nothing complicated, and that's what I love about October Daily, is it really does not need to be complicated. You do not need to document every single day. It just, and for me it doesn't work. I can't document every single day, especially and I'm sure I've mentioned this, because my kids are older, so it's not like we do a million different seasonal things. So on the 1st of every month, I really like to take some selfies, and I was journaling on the 1st. I don't remember. Is the 1st a Wednesday? I think it was. Either way, I was exhausted. I'm like, oh, I didn't get my selfies. Oh, well. But then I'm like, you know what? I'll just get them and I'll wear this hat while I'm journaling. I mean, why not? So that's what I did. I got the witch hat and I took some selfies of me journaling and writing, and I really love it. And I'm so glad that I did that. I have a design of a 4x6, which I trimmed just a little bit. And then I have 2x2s, and I'm going to tilt them just a little bit and use a pattern paper for the empty 2x2 section. I also want to include some journaling, but I wasn't sure where, and so I figured, you know what, I am going for the laminator, vellum, inserts, all of it. So I'm just going to do a vellum insert. Again, I did not measure this vellum piece. It was just in my stash, so I went ahead and used it. Now, at one point during the making of this, I had thought I would switch to the witchcraft themed kit from Mandy Ford, but it had some pink in it, and I really didn't want to use pink. I know on this particular day, I was not feeling pink. I was feeling more of like a, I don't know, a tough witch. So I did not want to embrace anything to do with pink. So I set aside those supplies and just went back to my original plan. And again, using my stash, I wanted some sort of pumpkin die cuts. And instead of taking the time to find them on my computer, print them, fussy cut them, or use my Cameo, which who knows if it's going to work, I remembered that I had printed some pumpkins on vellum for journaling. So I went ahead and used the last two that I have, and that will help coordinate with the journaling card that I have on the right-hand side. I also have some bats that were printed on that vellum, so I will wind up using those as well. I really wanted a title piece, and again, you guys, I'm so proud of myself. Again, I wanted a title, and I was like, I don't want to stamp. I want this to be quick. I don't want to have to die cut anything. So I looked in my journaling stash where I have a bunch of larger pieces that I have printed out on clear sticker paper. So it's like the title headings for my journal. And I found one that said Life Right Now. So I went ahead and used that on the left-hand side, and that will work perfect for a title. Finally used a Color Cast Designs piece that has a witch on it. I think it says the witching hour is here or something, but I've hoarded it for several years, so it's time to finally use it. And I thought about using a different piece, another Color Cast Circles piece that said like Workspace Wednesday, but I just decided simple is better. So I got a vellum bat, and I'm going to go ahead and use that along with an acrylic bat over on the right hand side, just to give the right hand side a little more oomph. And then of course I'll cut out several of the vellum bats. The vellum that I use is from Michael's, and it tends to print really nicely. The settings that I have for my printer aren't like a ton of options, so I think I really only have plain and photo, I think, which is unfortunate, but the plain works. So if I select plain and best, it tends to work really well for vellum and my clear sticker paper. So, I mean, that's a helpful tip, I hope. But yeah, not a lot of options, but still my vellum comes out looking really nicely. I just let it sit for a few minutes, and then I'm good to go on using it. I grabbed some stickers that had kind of a shine to them, which I really liked. And I put Cheers Witches, moments above the journaling card, and then opening chapter below the journaling card. I thought that was fitting because it was the start of October. And I'm so glad that I took the time to do a few photos of myself as I was journaling in my desk and different angles. So glad I did that because it's how I always start my album. So it would have felt kind of like not the same if I hadn't started my album this way. So glad that I did. And then I'm adding the glue to my acrylic bat, and then I can add some journaling lines to this journaling card. It just says October story, so I just quickly add a few journaling lines so that way I can talk about how excited I was for October. And as I was writing October, I totally got like stumped on what my words were. I was trying to say like it's definitely a favorite month, and it's a tie between October and December. And I apologize that my head is in the shot. I normally have it focused on the journaling instead of my head, but somehow my camera focused on my head. So I apologize. But again, I just told the story about how I'm excited for October. I'm so glad I took these selfies. I'm ready for, the magical fall, spooky, cozy, and fun happenings. And that's it. I really, really love this page, and it's just a great start to my album, and I love it. It looks great. And then the only thing is I didn't have an album at this time to put it in. So over this past weekend, I worked on putting together my album and I really love it. And I think I have a little clip towards the end of how my album turned out. So I wrote all the way to the bottom of my page, but there you go. That is my start to my page. All right, so this is my album, and I took some poster board, I trimmed it, and then I used a spider web punch to punch a hole, or not punch, but punch the border for the spider web. Then I painted it black and added some chipboard to the inside. I'm gonna definitely need to get some double-sided tape to adhere the chipboard better to the poster board, because all I had on hand was the glue stick, and that's not going to work. And then I have these binder rings that are like 3-in-1, so I will use those as well. So I'm really happy with how my album turned out. Again, embracing simple, what I have, and I really love it. So I'm putting in the pages, and that is the start to my album. I really hope you guys have enjoyed seeing the start to my album and hearing my thoughts behind how I put everything together. I'd love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you are new to my channel. I appreciate you watching, and thanks so much. Bye.